So I'm just getting out of watching Sinners. I know I'm a couple weeks late to it, but I wasn't originally going to see the movie. But this guy, I don't know. I'm looking so light on this camera for. I don't know why. It's just weird. It's a little bit distracting. And this is my first time recording anything on this phone, and hopefully it comes out okay. But anyway, my first impression of the movie Sinners is that it is basically it's a good movie. I thought it was a good movie, and I think it's going to be remembered as a good movie by and large, especially as people discover it later on. But there's always going to be a stigma attached to it, and for religious people, for Christian people especially, yeah, I mean, there's no different from any other movie in Hollywood that you see, and that's why I'm going to say that this movie is basically going to be like the Barack Obama of movies, because Barack Obama, in my opinion, is not any worse than any other president that we've ever had. But you will see that people are online still obsessing over this guy and his wife and over his family. And unfortunately, I believe it is very, very much due to his skin color. And I believe that the movie Sinners is no worse than any other Hollywood movie as far as the symbolism and the messages and all this other stuff that's in the movie. As far as all that stuff goes, it's no worse than any other movie that we've seen out there. And it's going to be remembered among certain circles as being much worse than it actually was, simply because of there's always a stigma when it comes to African Americans, because there's a deep rooted I hope this AC isn't blowing directly on the mic. Sorry if it is. I'm starting to catch a cold too. So there's like a deep mistrust, and I think a deep underlying fear of black people in America. And to be honest, that's not completely unfounded, because when you consider the history of 400 years of slavery and oppression of black people in America, people deep down inside, that there has to be, well, let's just say, if I'm putting myself in other people's shoes, okay, so-called white people's shoes, I'm putting myself in their shoes. Deep down inside, that there has to be some kind of reap what you sow, some kind of, if you like to use the word karma, or what goes around comes around. And while black people in America have never sought revenge for the past, that doesn't mean that some form of payback may not come from some other place. And it will not come from black people. But I think there's a fear among white people that it will come from black people, but it's not going to come from black people. If anything, it's going to come from outside of America and outside of the United States, when and if that what goes around comes around actually comes around. It's not going to come from black people, though. It's not going to come from African Americans. But because of the fear about reprisal, or the fear of black people or African Americans, there's going to be a stigma attached to people like Barack Obama, and a stigma attached to black movies, where these things are uniquely evil in certain people's minds, when they actually are not uniquely evil. They're not any worse than anything else that we have out there. And and that's a shame, because I think even if you are let's just say a very, very, very religious Christian, and you can't tell me that you don't watch TV or watch other movies, and you see all kind of stuff and you let it slide. It doesn't bother you. or at least you tolerate it, or maybe it does bother you, you don't like to watch it, but again, you tolerate it. But this movie, I think, is worth you at least attempting to tolerate, because at least with it, because a problem with bigotry and a problem with racism and a problem with all these other divisions that we have is a lack of understanding of other people, a lack of sympathy, or a lack of being able to step into somebody else's shoes. And when you see a movie like Sinners, you're going to be put into some other people's shoes. You're going to be able to see the world from their point of view. And a lot of people, I think, due to their fear-mongering about the film and making it seem like uniquely evil, you are missing out on an opportunity to overcome some of your biases and overcome your I don't want to use the word bigotedness, but you're not building an understanding of other people, and that's going to contribute to you having these fears about other people, or having these ideas or these concepts, or at least being refusing to face things that have been done. So a lot of us have family members who have hurt us in some way, shape, or form. Family members or friends. Now, your family member or your friend may ask for forgiveness for you for the thing that they did to hurt you, and you all know that if anybody apologizes to you and asks you for forgiveness, it's good to forgive them, but you need to also see that there is a change, that there is an acknowledgement of wrong. Because it's one thing to say I'm sorry, but sometimes people will say, well, I'm sorry you felt a certain way about what I did, and that's not an apology, is it? If they say I'm sorry you felt hurt by what I said, that's not an apology. An apology is, I said something that hurt you, I said something hurtful, or I said something I shouldn't have said, I said something wrong, and I apologize for that. That's an apology, because there is an acknowledgement of wrong. So what a lot of people don't want to do is confront the past, and you will see some things in the movie Sinners that you have to confront. And what a lot of people are doing by fear-mongering or saying or making the movie look uniquely evil is not allowing you to look at some things that the movie will show you, holding up a mirror, and allow you to confront and to acknowledge, and to, once you do those things, to confront and to acknowledge your wrong, to then be able to make a change. But as long as you stay in a bubble or a protected little box or area, then you're not ever confronting, you're not ever acknowledging, and you're always going to stay in that place where there's a division, because you're afraid of the other person, and you refuse to make any attempt to understand them or to acknowledge a wrong on your end. So there's all kinds of, I'm sorry, I realized I've been holding the phone further and further away from my face. I'm not even sure if it's going to be catching my voice. So it's always going to be the case with black movies, especially ones that deal with issues that black people understand and black people are familiar with. That's just the way it's going to end up being, and that's unfortunate that people won't actually make an effort to understand other people, and they're going to make all kind of excuses and demonize things in order to scare people away from something that might be able to change their perspective. Now, again, I'm not saying that the movie is completely, let's say, free of some things that I disagree with, because I'm not on some of those. I gotta say it a certain way. I'm not on the same page as Ryan Coogler is with his spirituality. I'm not on the bus with him. I'm not into the spiritualism with the voodoo and all of that stuff. You know, I understand that he has it too much in his movies for him not to be personally involved with it. So I understand that's probably what he is, where he's coming from. And so I'm not saying that there's nothing in this movie that I don't personally disagree with, because that's something that I don't really vibe with. And there is I guess you can say that the main character rejects Christianity, and that is something that a lot of you might take offense to as Christians, or as whatever you might want to call yourself. But at the same time, you have to understand that why certain people might feel that way. Not only because certain people are just going to reject what you see as the truth, but also because the way things have been packaged and the way things have been delivered has been in a very harmful and hurtful manner. So they may have been receiving something good, but it came in a package. It came like I think I remember a reference. I saw a reference on the Bill Cosby show. Or I saw the Bill Cosby show, or a clip of it, I mean. And the analogy is, he made an analogy of cooking up a steak or a nice dinner, right? And then presenting you the steak and the dinner. However, it's presented on a trash can lid instead of a plate. Now, you're going to, even though that food is good and it's a very delicious meal, probably, it's been presented to you on a trash can lid. So you're like, I'm not going to eat that. So in a way, the Bible was presented in a trash can lid, or on a trash can lid, and that has caused many black people to reject the Bible, and unfortunately, they are rejecting Black history, because that is a Black history book. And I know I'm going to have a lot of people in the comments who don't want to hear that, but that's absolutely what it is. It is a book written by so-called black people, to so-called black people, for so-called black people. But that book has been able to, well, not the book, but the scriptures. And somebody's right in front of me turning on their lights. It's a little bit distracting to me because they're bright in my eyes. I'm going to have to move my car anyway. So that's a subject for another time. I don't want to get off into that. I need to move this car. I'm going to have to bring the video to a close because they're not moving, and their tail lights are right in my face. So I'm going to bring the video to a close. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you later.